Hello everyone, this is your CTEC 134 instructor for database administration. In the last video, I introduced you to queries that would do calculations. And in this video, we're going to focus on queries that deal with grouping. And both of these concepts are required in completing this week's homework assignment. So I've already started SQL Server and I've opened the same query we were working with in the last video. In the last video, we actually filled in a number of queries that dealt with calculations. And I've taken those out because we're going to focus now on grouping examples. Question number 13 in the Salmaris condominium group asks a question, how many one-bedroom condos are located in each location? How many one-bedroom condos are located in each location? So we have to count, we have to do some counting, and we have to do some grouping. We have to say how many of these units are in each of these locations. So I think the first thing to do to understand the grouping concept is just look at the data. And I would suggest that what we do, you could look at all the data in this particular table, TBL condo unit. But I think it'd be easier to understand if we picked location num and BDRMS, bedrooms, and maybe the unit num. If we looked at those three things from TBL condo unit. But I think it would make sense to go ahead and sort these by location num and bedrooms, BDRMS. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, I'm going to have to be sure to run use Salmaris Rick first. Okay, I did that. And now I'm going to take this sample query and look at it. And what we need to focus on are the groups. We need to have the one-bedroom units by each location. So if we look at this data, we can see here's location 1, that's bedroom 1. So that qualifies. And that's the first record in our first group. Here's location 1, bedroom 1, and that's the second occurrence of one-bedroom units in our group. The next record is location 1, all right, but it's 2-bedroom units, so that does not qualify. That's not in the group, nor are these 3-bedroom units in the group, because we only want 1-bedroom units. This record right here is location number 2, and it's a 1-bedroom unit. So that is the beginning of our second group. The next record is location 2, 1 bedrooms, and that's the also in our second group. So if we just manually counted these, we could see there are 2 1-bedroom units in location 1 and 2 1-bedroom units in location 2. And so that's what our query needs to select. So we're going to use a grouping option in this query, but we're going to start off with select location num, and we're going to use a count aggregate total. We know how to do that now. And it doesn't really matter what we count. We're just going to count the number of records. We could use any field in here and it would all work the same. From TBL condo unit, where BDRMS equals 1. And here is the new concept you need to learn. Group by. We're going to group by the location num. And that's all. Okay, group by location num. And this output actually looks correct. We know from looking at the raw data up here that we had 2 occurrences of 1-bedroom units in location 1, and we also had 2 occurrences of 1-bedroom units in location 2. Let's look at maybe the number of 3-bedroom units and try that. Let's look here again at all of the data. We're looking at all the data here again, and I'm looking at location 1. I'm interested in 3-bedroom units. So there's 1 occurrence right there. So that's the first record in my first group. The next record is a 1 and a 3 also. So that is the second record in my first group. The next record is a 1 and a 3. So that's the third record in my first group. And now we move on to a different group because we have a different location number. And this one doesn't qualify because the where clause disqualifies it. This one doesn't qualify, this one doesn't, this one doesn't. But this one down here, the very last one in location 2, does qualify. So it looks like I have 3 occurrences of 3-bedroom units in the first location and 1 occurrence of 3-bedroom units in the second location. So I think the best way to do that is simply copy the one up above and just change the number of bedrooms from 1 to 3. Whoops, I collapsed it. Now select this and run it. And I'm getting the output that I expected. There were 3 occurrences of 3-bedroom units in the first location and 1 occurrence of 3-bedroom units in the second location. Okay, let's look at another example of grouping. In this example, I want to list the sum of the condo fees for each location number. We've already learned how to produce sums. In the video just prior to this one, we use aggregate total examples, and we summed the condo fees. We averaged them. We took the minimum and the maximum, and we counted them. And so we know how to do the calculation using an aggregate total function. But this time, what we need to do is not to do it for all locations, but to do it for an individual location. So this is how we do that. Select location num and the sum of condo fees, condo fee. okay, from TBL condo unit. And we're going to add a group by option, a group by location num. As you can see, we haven't added any column names or more meaningful column names. We certainly could do that by adding an as statement up here after the sum of condo fee. But we can see here that in location 1, we have a number 4,650. And that would be the sum of condo fees in location 1, and 1,415 is the location of condo fees in location 2. So you can see that the number is quite a bit different. That either means that we have a whole lot more condo units in 1 than we do in 2, or the condo fees in general are higher. So this data really doesn't tell you why that is, but we could certainly figure that out if we needed to. Here's another grouping example. I put the solution there in the wrong place. So I'm going to get rid of that comment. Put that comment right here. Another grouping example is to count the number of owners by each state. So we're going to look at a different table this time. We're going to look at the owners table. And we need to count the number of owners by state. So like we did in the last example, it might be easiest just to look at the data first. Look at all the data first. Select state, city, maybe last name, whatever you think is necessary from TBL owner. And then order by state, comma, city. And let's run that. So we see here that our records are sorted, and we need to count the number of owners in each state. So we see in Florida, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 in Florida. In Georgia, it looks like we have 1 owner, and in Michigan, 1 owner, and in PA, Pennsylvania, we have 1, and in South Carolina, we have 1. So when we do our grouping, the first 7 right here, that should be a group. This record right here should be a group by itself with 1 record in it. Then we should have 2 records in this group, 1 record in this group, and 1 record in this group. So let's write the statement. Select the state, and we're going to count And you can put an asterisk in there. You can count states. It doesn't really matter what we count. But I'm going to, this time, give it a name. Number of owners. From TBL owner. And I want to group by state. And we can also order by state. We want to order by state. So the states are in numerical order or alphabetical order as well. Let's see what this one looks like. Okay, when we looked at the raw data up here, we said the first group should have 7 in it, and we said the second one should have 1 in it, the third one should have 2, and the last 2 should have 1. So this is the grouping statement that does the calculation properly for us. What would happen if we added the city also? In other words, let's look at this again. What kind of groups should we have? If we grouped by the state and the city, we would say that this record right here, Florida, Bolton, and this second record, Florida, Bolton, is in the same group. So there's one group that has 2 records in it. The next record down is Florida, all right, but it has a different city. So since we're going to be grouping on both the state and the city, this does not qualify. This becomes a second group. The next record down becomes a third group. The next record down becomes a fourth group, and the next record down becomes a continuation of the fourth group. Okay? So to do this, we're going to copy this statement here. And we're just going to add city. And we're going to group by state and city. And we're going to order by state and city. And let's see what that looks like. And so here we see that just as we suspected, we're going to have 2 records or 2 owners that are in the first group, state Florida, city Bolton. And the next record is going to, and the next occurrence, next group, I should say, has 1 occurrence. The next group has 1 occurrence. The next group has 2 occurrences where we have 2 owners that are in Florida, Lewiston. And I think that's all we need to cover here for our understanding of grouping. So we'll go ahead and shut this thing down, and we will continue with another video that's going to deal with wildcards and with nesting queries.